Hi, I'm Tom Johnson, publisher of Stew News. Welcome to this week's edition of Fair Game Laguna Beach, where Sue Kempf, our mayor, and I have a conversation about what's going on in and around town. Sue, good afternoon. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Tom. Good to see you.
I hope you had a better weekend than I did. I did some volunteer work on Saturday, and it was an outdoor volunteer. And I stood outside all day in the rain, getting soaked. Did you manage to stay dry?
Yeah, I watched basketball all weekend.
Oh, good for you. I wish I was doing that. Anyway, lots going on around town.
Right.
I know you had a discussion on campaign contributions
Right.
and where they should go and everything. Now, the amount in the past has been $440. Talk about that. Why is it something that should be discussed? Where's it going to go? And why is it good that way?
Well, it was 440, and what we had on our agenda was, do we want to, have a cost of basically a cost of living adjustment, if you will, on the campaign contribution limits. And so we said, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. So it puts the amount up to about $520 per person that they can contribute now. So and then what we said was we want this to be looked at in off years, in other words, odd numbered years that are not election years. Because last night what happened was because we were talking about contributions for this upcoming election, Bob Whalen recused himself because he may or may not be a candidate, and George Weiss did as well. So the three of us decided, but so we want to take care of that on off years. And I think what we said is it doesn't necessarily have to come back to us. If there's a cost of living adjustment, we'll just go ahead and do that. It's getting to be a bigger number now. It doesn't obligate anybody to give $520, of course. You don't have to give a thing if you don't want to. And but people who have a lot of money or want to contribute in a way that's significant for them, they can do it the full amount. I mean, I typically get a handful of people that give me the full amount, and then when my experience has been people give varying amounts. So
in when you're running for an office nowadays, and I know it's changed, and I feel comfortable asking you because you're not running this year. What's it if somebody wanted to jump in, or one of the existing council people want to run for reelection? What are they looking at to raise in order to run a successful campaign?
well, it's more if you're running for the first time, unless you're a very, very well-known person in town. But most people who are running the first time, they may have a base of people that know them, but they're not known broadly in the town. So you probably need to raise about $45,000, which sounds like a lot. When I ran the first time, I think I raised 34,000, and I came out with a little extra money. But I had been on the planning commission for a while, so people knew me. But I would say for a first time candidate, probably around $45,000, because it costs you money to run ads. Then you have to, pay for your signs. You sometimes go with these third party, you get those flyers in the mail, and they're in various different groups. Sometimes you want to put money in there so you can get your name out a little bit more. Then, if you're putting on events, you have to pay for those events. So, and then, you have to pay for someone to do your, graphic arts.
Right.
Or, your sign. Sometimes people want a campaign manager. Sometimes those people want to be paid a little bit of money.
So you don't just say one day, okay, I'm going to run. You really got to get out there and do some work on it. That's good.
Yeah.
Makes you want it that much more.
That's right.
Listen, I found an interesting item on the council agenda this week, because you don't think about this for Laguna Beach, but it's probably one of the things that makes Laguna Beach such a good city. It had to do with public nuisances, weeds and things on sidewalks and stuff. And so there was the discussion to determine how to go about, ridding the city of any of that stuff. Talk
Right.
about the whole process, what you do to set that up, and then how you go about enforcing it and finding out, where it's slipping through the cracks on the city.
Well, so this is my 6th year on council, so I've kind of noticed, I always look at the list. And I've kind of noticed it's a lot of the same properties over and over. Some are vacant properties. So there's some kind of there's a lot of repeat properties in there. I used to, for example, I had a property in front of me when I lived in Bluebird, and it was a vacant lot, double lot. And every year that property owner would get a notice, and then they would get some people out to clear the lot. And, that was that for the year. If they don't do that, so we get a list and we usually put it on the consent calendars, both for, it's both for, lots, and it's also for sidewalks, kind of street, impairments for vegetation, if you will. So we get the big list first, we pass it through, and then, if they don't do it, we get the abbreviated list. Then I think what they do is they put it on their property taxes or send them a bill.
Okay, but it definitely gets enforced. That's good.
Yeah, and it needs to be because, some of these are fire risks.
Yeah, and you don't want a nuisance in a place like Laguna Beach, particularly.
No, there's no reason for it.
Real estate's too important.
Right.
Another agenda item was a discussion on the microgrid.
Yeah.
Electrifying the city fleet. Talk about that.
Well, so there's kind of two parts. There's putting the infrastructure in, and then there's, getting a fleet at some point, or, transitioning to electric vehicles. So we looked at primarily so the microgrid project is basically solar panels and batteries. And we looked at, a few sites. One is the Act 5, what we call the Corp Yard out in the canyon. One was City Hall. Another was the lift station at City Hall. And then we had Susie Q and the Laguna Beach Community Rec Center. So we looked at those 5 as possible targets. And each one of them has their pros and cons. But we were looking at, like, what is the cost, for example, the Corp Yard. So the Corp Yard would serve 2 purposes. One is we would put the solar and the batteries out there. You get a lot of sun out there. That's probably the best target. And then we would use that facility to charge electric vehicles as we acquire them. Okay. The other sites were to remain viable in a power outage. So, for example, the lift station that's in the parking lot next to City Hall, we put a solar panel on there. So if there's a power outage, we don't want to have a sewer leak because of a power outage. So you maybe put that there. So we said, okay, what we ended up saying was, let's look at more than just these 4 facilities. Let's look at, like, the Playhouse. I think we talked about the festival, and then some of the other lift stations in town. So let's look at all of those as possible targets, and not that we would do them all at once because it's expensive. But what's nice about it right now is, and I think it's until, I don't know, 2032 or something like that, the Inflation Reduction Act gives you credits for solar, 30%. So you can get that. And then in the case where you have batteries, you have a payback period or recovery time to recover your costs, where it starts making financial sense. Some of those have a higher net present value than others, and some have a better rate of return than others. So we try to pick those off first.
And this is a direction the city will move into with vehicles in the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're all, as a council, everybody's behind this. 100%. It's just a matter of, with the vehicles, it's kind of tricky because the police department, for example, they're looking at electric vehicles, but they take a standard vehicle and then they have to put all their equipment on there. And it's about $30,000 to $40,000 to retrofit a car. But with electric vehicles, they also draw on the power. Sure. So, it's going to be a little bit of a trick on the bigger vehicles.
Okay, last thing. Next week you have your State of the City.
That's right.
Go and do your song and dance at the before all the community leaders at the Montage, Laguna Beach.
That's
Any
right.
surprises on there, or what are you looking forward to?
Well, I like it every year. It's fun. It's a little bit more involved when you're the mayor. But we haven't produced this year, so it's going to be a little bit different than having the mayor get up there and give a talk. So I think, I've seen the first run of it, and Cassie's been great to work with on this. So it's going to be a little different situation this year, and I hope people enjoy it. Yeah.
Now the nice thing is, a lot of times you get those events, and you're trying to sell tables and things. It's sold out.
Right.
So that's a credit to the engagement of people in the city.
All right,
which is a good thing.
well, we're also gonna try to live stream it.
Okay, good.
We can't make it, it's $120, I think, to go to the State of the City,
Right.
so. It's
Well,
not cheap, but we're gonna try to live stream it so people can see it. And then we can put the presentation out on our, weekly Nixle. We'll put it out on the city's website so people can see it.
Great. Well, that's a wrap on Fair Game Laguna Beach for this week. We encourage everybody. There's some decent weather. Now there's rain coming this weekend, but maybe if we get past that, we can finally get back to Southern California weather. Thanks for joining us. Sue, great to see you.
Thanks, Tom. I'll see you next week.